Hi, this is Steve Trone, Director of Teaching and Learning for District 196. As we come to the close of another busy school year, I was hoping to carve out a few minutes of your time to update you on the important work of the Learning and Technology Vision Task Force, and again give you an update of the current status of that work at this time. Three main areas I want to address today. First of all, I want to give you a brief summary of the betas for the coming year, the 4 beta groups. I also want to spend some time in detail talking about the process used for recommending a mobile device for students and staff in line with our vision, and talk about the recommendations themselves. And then finally, highlight our original timeline for this vision, stress where we're at this time, and the fact that we're really grounding our work in that vision. You may remember from an earlier screencast that the task force recognized that we have a responsibility as educators to ensure that we are preparing our children for success in a rapidly changing digital world. You may also remember there were 3 main pieces or pillars to the group's work. First of all, the group was tasked with developing a vision for a dynamic student learning experience enhanced by technology and helping people understand what is meant by that. Secondly, the group was tasked with finding ways to increase access to technology for both students and staff across our system. And then finally, tasked with creating a framework for an ongoing professional development in line with the vision. One other piece you might recall from the earlier screencast was this graphic which tries to pull the vision together. You'll notice in the graphic the 3 inner circles: the pedagogy, that art of teaching, the curriculum, and then the technology, knowledge, and use. And where those 3 meet in the center, that's a dynamic student learning experience. You may also remember something called the SAMR model. And in that lower part of that blue circle, the SAMR model talks about that integration of technology is on a continuum. And we as educators can use technology to enhance what we do, enhance learning experience, and also we as educators can find ways to transform that teaching and learning experience with technology as well. But really what pulls it all together and truly brings it to life is that outer ring, that outer blue circle, where students are using digital resources to access and analyze information, collaborate and communicate, problem solve, innovate and create. And where students are also practicing responsible use of technology and increasing their depth of understanding of technology concepts and tools and operations. It's that outer ring that really brings that dynamic student learning experience to life. And it's that outer ring that we want, the task force wants or envisions coming to life in every classroom across our district, no matter what the school, what the grade level, what the content area, that students are using digital resources to access and analyze, collaborate and communicate, problem solve, innovate and create. Okay, moving forward here. Beta groups, the first item that I wanted to address today. We have 4 beta groups that have already begun meeting this spring and will be meeting into the summer and throughout the year next year. The first group I wanted to highlight is the 47 teachers in grades 4 through 12 that have applied and been selected to be a part of the one-to-one beta. These teachers will receive devices, and their students will receive devices also for use 24/7. If they're a secondary teacher, these teachers will select one of their classes or sections to receive devices, and we'll work with those parents and students, and it'll be a 24/7 environment, and those students will be able to carry those devices through the rest of their day when they're not with that teacher as kind of a bring your own device type environment. The 4th and 5th grade teachers that are part of the beta, the group of students that they spend most of their day with, kind of their homeroom classroom, will receive devices as well, and it'll be a 24/7 one-to-one environment. We also have 50 teachers, or over 50 teachers, that are part of our technology integration beta. This learning community has already met and will be meeting again this summer and into next year. And that group comes together, shares ideas, and goes deeper and learns together in terms of different technology tools to use in the classroom, how to apply the existing technology that they might already have in their buildings, and learning together about different software and applications and tools. We also have over 40 other staff, TOSAs, or teachers on special assignment, instructional coaches and trainers, media specialists, peer leaders, and tech support that have signed up to be a part of a learning community for instructional leaders. And then finally, we have over 25 administrators that have signed up to be a part of a beta community, and they will be learning together as well with their focus on the vision and focusing on how they can foster technology integration and that environment for technology integration within their building. Going to move on to the mobile device selection process, which is the second point that I wanted to highlight in detail here today. One of the tasks of the original task force was to come up with a plan for how to increase access for students and staff, and the vision was to move towards a one-to-one environment in grades 4 through 12, and also increased access for staff as well, in addition to increasing access at the K-3 level potentially as well. To move forward with the process of moving from the plan to more specifics, we put together a device selection advisory team, and 17 members of the original 40-member task force volunteered to be a part of this group that put in several hours over the last few months. That group is made up of teachers from various levels, administrators, tech support, special education, and teaching and learning department staff. The 17 people, their purpose was to provide input, guidance, and an informed perspective in regards to the most appropriate student device or devices at each grade level to support and be in line with the district vision. As the group started its work, they grounded their work in that vision, those 3 rings in that outer ring, and reminded themselves that the key question was, what will students be doing with the devices? So always focusing the work back on students and that dynamic student learning experience. The group also very quickly recognized that there is no perfect device, and that devices will keep changing, in some cases quite rapidly. The group did work together as a group and with their colleagues at their work sites, and also with the larger task force, and put together a look for features guide that really tried to focus on what it is we want students to be able to do with devices. And then we started our work with 3 broad vendor presentations. We heard from Microsoft, Apple, and Google for a half day. We also expanded that and moved into half-day site visits, visiting Hopkins, Bloomington, Spring Lake Park, and Pine Island. We got to interact with both students and staff that were using Microsoft Surface tablets in the one-to-one setting, that were using iPads and iPad minis, and also districts that were rolling out plans for full implementation of Chromebooks. And then finally, different variations of those as well, and some hybrid versions. We complemented that with 3 virtual visits via Google Hangouts with White Bear Lake, Edina, and some time with representatives from Sheboygan, Wisconsin. We looked at student survey data, detailed cost data, and at the end of the process engaged in some lengthy open dialogue as a team, and then finally provided, each team member had an opportunity to provide individual input via Google form in terms of each person's own recommendation and rationale. Okay, from that process, the Learning and Technology Vision Steering Team took all that dialogue, all that learning, all that research, all that input, and then that group worked together to develop the final recommendations and rationale to bring forth to the Superintendent's Cabinet, which happened recently. So I'm going to move forward next into the recommendations from that group and frame that group's rationale. So here we go, 3 main pieces to this. The recommendations for the group in line with the district's vision. First of all, the group is recommending that iPad minis be the personal learning device for all students across grades 4 through 12 and beyond. We are recommending that as a district we supplement this with district-funded carts of Chromebooks for all schools. The idea is that there are different devices have different strengths, and sometimes, just like at home, you may use one device for one thing and another device for another purpose. We wanted to give the opportunity to have additional devices, types of devices on hand as well. So the idea was that we would, with district funds, saturate Chromebooks carts throughout all levels, 6 carts for each high school, 4 additional carts for each middle school, and 2 for each elementary and SES. These carts would be in addition to whatever carts the school might already have or would fund through their own capital outlay or fundraising in the future. And then finally, all staff pre-K-12 plus in the district would receive an iPad mini, same as a student device, and a laptop. And so the idea is that a laptop across the whole entire district would replace teacher desktops. And so staff have access to 2 mobile devices for their work in teams, for their individual work as teachers, and for their classroom instruction. One being the same devices students have and all that creative pieces that can bring, and then a laptop too, which is portable and mobile as well. An extension of this piece here too is I want to bring people back to our original timeline. You might recall that we had a 3-year rollout plan, which was phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, as you see on this chart here. That 3-year rollout does tie back into the device selection. You may remember that we plan on purchasing a third of the devices for our district each year, and they have about a 3-year life. For instance, if we selected 3 grade levels in the first year, and as an example, let's say it was grades 8, 9, and 10, the following year we would select another set of grade levels and then a third set of grade levels, and then every year thereafter we would always be funding or purchasing devices for a third of those students in grades 4 through 12. As markets change, as technology changes, as needs change, we believe this 3-year rollout plan not only will keep the funding needed consistent, but it will also allow us to be responsive to changes in our needs as they evolve, or changes in the market or technology as that no doubtly will evolve as well. So going back to the timeline, where are we at right now? We're in phase 1A right now with beta groups, those 160 staff I was talking about earlier in the betas, and namely those 47 teachers in the one-to-one environment. That's where we're at right now. So next school year, the 14-15 school year, is at phase 1A. You'll also notice in phase 1A the device decision, which we just completed. Also the idea of continue to sustain and grow and support the BYOD environments growing at several of our schools. And then also continuing the conversation there at the bottom for establishing funding for full implementation, and that is an ongoing conversation involving the board and eventually other stakeholders. And then you can see that phase 1 may take a turn in the future and move into that phase 1B, where we're preparing wireless infrastructure, continuing the betas, all teachers receiving a mobile device, moving forward with a professional development model. And then finally, we would get to a rollout situation. Now these grade levels may change. This is a potential implementation scenario, but as you can see, we would roll this out over a 3-year time period and then saturate professional development at those grade levels that are involved in the rollout, and also increase tech support throughout our district as well. But it all comes back to this. Regardless of which device we would have selected, regardless of when funding is available for full implementation, regardless of those timing pieces, it all does come back to this vision, and this is where we're going to continue to ground our work as we roll this out and move forward. That again, that idea of students being prepared to be successful in a digital world, and students along with that art of teaching from teachers, curriculum, that technology, knowledge, and use, that outer ring coming alive, where students are using digital resources to access and analyze, collaborate and communicate, problem solve, innovate, and create. I want to thank you for your time in listening to this. I want to thank you for your continued interest and ongoing questions. And as this moves further along, we will continue to update you in regards to the work of the task force, the Learning Technology Vision Steering Team, and as the vision comes to life in those beta classrooms across the district. Thank you, have a good summer, and we'll talk soon.